Devontae Verner Jr. Being your parent has been some of the most trying, rewarding, and meaningful work in my life. When I was 16 years old, I lived with my eyes closed and arms open, recklessly indifferent to consequences and selective with effort. I only had the vague goal of being a psychiatrist, but ultimately, I just wanted to leave and see as much of not Indiana as I could, living as freely as life afforded me. The caveat to this is that I was on my second expulsion from high school for fighting, and returning to an alternative school again until I was allowed back. So when I learned that I got my 17-year-old girlfriend pregnant, yo mama, my mind sank. We were in the midst of an ice storm that burst the pipes at my house, and we were put up in the residence inn. There was no blueprint of being a present father in my life. I was aimless with my own life, and I knew even less of what I could offer to the betterment of a child's. I could always empathize with a child with too much idle time and not having a clear choice in their upbringing, but still reaped the consequences of their parents' actions. So I stressed and worried and agonized of what I was going to do, all without mentioning it to my side of the family. I'd always imagined having a family of my own, but I definitely didn't imagine that it happened this early on, nor in the terms present. It eventually became known that I was going to be a parent when you were around 7 months along, and your grandmother found out by checking my messages. In June 2009, the top songs at the time were Boom Boom Pow by Black Eyed Peas, Poker Face by Lady Gaga, Blame It by T-Pain and Jamie Foxx, classic, and I Know You Want Me by Pitbull. But ultimately, when the King of Pop passed a couple of days before, Michael Jackson's music rang everywhere as the world grieved. Popular movies were District 9, Transformers, Dragon Ball Evolution, and X-Men Origins Wolverine. I knew prior to your arrival that I'd be committed as a parent, dedicated and supportive as a parent at 16 could be. But even from the moment I first held you in the hospital, I still could imagine the scope of what being a parent entailed. Immediately, all my concerns, fears, doubts, and joys were personified in my arms with my name. I knew I had no plans of leaving Indiana before you turned into an adult, but 16 years later, of you seeing me fumble through heartache, stress, and anxiety, a good amount of which I had self imposed, there's still Wolverine and Transformer movies in the box office. It's still hot as all get out in the summer, and I've got that similar uneasy feeling with my baby's second to last summer before graduating into a world that's more unforgiving and unpredictable than before. But as I described the friendly, goal oriented, and supportive big brother and young man that you are, I feel the uneasiness lift a bit. With half my life as your parent, it's still very tough for me to not just identify as your dad and want to shelter you from any and everything in the world to keep you safe. But that's not realistic, nor does it guarantee your safety. Grieving the loss of your sister Kendra, while shattering, also drove my focus towards being deliberate in the tools I left for you and being worthy of you both. I've always been blessed that we've had a relationship where we speak plainly and communicate openly about what we're going through or even our disagreements, especially as they develop now. However, among the things I do want to impart with you are my heartfelt words and my testament to my continued investment in your future and goals. However, in investing in your future in soccer sports management, I was inspired to reclaim my ambition and creativity I had for myself, returning to college while working last year and starting a business this year. Getting a front row seat to you developing as a soccer player manager these last years, seeing you get taller than me now, and your unconditional support and love has made this a lot easier and a lot tougher watching you grow into a grown man. You're the first best thing that's happened to me, and I've been extremely grateful for it all. You mentioning that you want a family in the future, while needs to be far in the future, is still something that really gives me hope when I see young men wanting to dedicate themselves to not just being good men, but good fathers.